Cheers, mate. So our last speaker is Noel Fowler, who's the architect for the Nova Centre. So we invited him to speak. He's going to speak for about 10 minutes, and then it's going to be all you. So hang in there for 10 more minutes, and I think a lot of the context here is the stuff that really informs where we go. So while I put these up.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a picture of me and my wife.
Thanks, Tim. It seems as though I've been working on this project forever, on and off, so it's great to see some help show up. I'm really looking forward to your input. I think it's a great project for Halifax, and the more we get from you guys, the better it'll be. This process should have happened a long time ago, but it really couldn't have. When we successfully landed the project, I don't know when that was, 3 or 4 years ago now, we made a commitment to do just this, have public engagement, but the project was not actually announced till 2 weeks ago, so it would be premature to do this before today, and a little presumptuous. I mean, consulting about what? Is this a project or not? It was always a proposal. Also, I think the province and the city will be wondering what we're consulting about because they haven't made a decision. So it's really a long time coming, but now that it's here, I think it's great for everyone. I haven't been through this consultation process before. I don't think many people have. It's new to the city, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a valuable thing. I guess the other thing I'll clear up, there have been designs floating around for the last few years also, and there's a reason for that. It was done without your consultation, but it was done in order for us to respond to a requirement from the province to guarantee the cost and guarantee the schedule. And you really can't do that without actually drawing the thing and testing, how many square feet is this, what are these volumes, what could it be made of, what kind of structural system might you need. You need all these things in place so that you can go to the market, find out what the real costs are, and that's what we did. And we did it a number of times, and we're comfortable now with the numbers. So we do know what the volumes are and the square footages are, but what it actually looks like, it's not so dependent on that because we're carrying numbers that will accommodate several different options. So that's the story on the designs that were floating around. Now we're going to actually, we can take the word proposal off the table. It's not proposal, it's real now. So if you guys want to join in and help, it's going to be tough, but I think it'll be worth it. Again, I think it's really important for Halifax. We can either kind of make it or break it with this thing, but I think we're going to make it. So I guess we can get some things out of the way. I guess before we can talk, we need some context in terms of the nuts and bolts of how does this thing fit into Halifax, and this is Halifax. I guess, well, we can go to the next slide and see where we are here. I'm not going to spend much time on this. Everyone knows where the project is. But the red thing there, and I know I was sitting back there, and you can't read anything. So anyway, the red thing is Nova Centre. It's within walking distance of 10 hotels. It's a block away from Metro Centre. It's in the entertainment district. I think it's the right place for a convention centre. Convention centres, and I've looked at an awful lot of them. The further they are away from the center of a city, the worse they do and often fail on the periphery of a city. So I think, and I guess one more thing, when I go to conventions, and I don't go to a lot of them, but when I do go, I mean, the first thing is, where is it? So if it's in Moncton, and nothing against Moncton, I may not go, but if it's in, New Orleans, I definitely would go. And I think the point is, people go to conventions not because it's a great convention center. They go for the city. That's what they really go for. And I think we will have a great convention center, but they're not going to come to see that. They're going to come because of Halifax. So it's the right location. So we can go on. This is just a little 2D information. It's 2 city blocks bounded by Prince, Argyle, Sackville, Market Street. It comprises about 95,000 square feet. And at the bottom there, you'll see this is a section through the site. And what it's really showing is that from Argyle Street to Market Street, it's about 35 feet rise. So that's like, you know, over a 3-story building. So it's quite a steep slope site, and that makes it a little more interesting. Flat sites are easy to build on, but they're not really full of much interest. This is a really interesting site. So the next slide would be how, and so that's a 2D thing. We've got about 95,000 square feet to work with in plan. And so how high can we go? How does that determine? Halifax has two kind of major, I guess we can just go back for 1 second there. There's two things that determine that, and they're both determined from the Citadel. One is there are 10 view planes that radiate out from the Citadel over Halifax, and that's one way of determining height. If you're under that. If you're not under the view plane, the other way height is determined is through the ramparts. So that's already, it's from the Citadel. Yeah, so now we can go to the next slide. So, and you can't read any of this stuff. Here you're inside the Citadel. This is a rampart. So when you're inside the Citadel looking at the rampart, you get an angle like this. And so what that does, it says you can build only as high as these ramparts. And the idea there is to preserve the integrity of the fort and the experience of being in a 17th century fort, looking around. All you see is ramparts and blue sky. It would change the experience totally if the building projected above that. So that's the ramparts. The view plane's a little more complicated. We can go to the next slide there, Tim. And so here are the view planes. There are 10 of them, and hate to block things. Anyway, so the site is impacted by two. This one, I think, is view plane 6 and view plane 4. So here's a blow-up of it. Here's the two city blocks. Here's view plane 6 and view plane 4. So view plane 6 basically controls about 30% of the site, and view plane 4 probably, I don't know, 5 or 6% of the site. So here we're limited under the view planes, and here we're limited under the ramparts. And now there's a quick video in case you're not really clear on what's happening there. And this will just kind of fly you around so you can see how these view planes impact the site. So that's a view plane there. This is another view plane, and this is the ramparts. So there's the three influences on the site. You see the ramparts are much higher than the view planes. If you see Maritime Centre, MT&T building, you'll see it just skirts by the side of the view plane, and it's not impacted by the ramparts there either. So this is not a design. It's really an envelope within which we have to work. So it's known, obviously wouldn't build something like that, but it's just saying this is the extremities. This is how far the building can be pushed. This is the envelope within which we'll be working in terms of height, volume, and things. You can see view plane 6 here, cutting this thing down and this thing down. So that's view planes and ramparts. Anyway, I thought that was important because a lot of people aren't exactly sure how they influence a site. Where are we going next? Oh, you got to get back in here. Okay. So the toughest thing about this project, I mean, it's every project comes with its own baggage, and some things are more difficult to deal with than others. With this project, the convention center has really two huge spaces that need to be accommodated. One is the ballroom with the front of house and back of house. The front of house of ballroom is where people arrive, register, have a drink, talk before they go into the function. And the back of house will be all the support it needs: kitchens, storage, service areas, that kind of thing. So the ballroom needs totally about 79,000 square feet. The ballroom itself, the area is about 30,000, which is like 7 basketball courts, 25 feet high, column free. So these are huge spaces, and the exhibition hall is equally, monstrous. It's 74,000 square feet. So in the project, office things are easy to deal with, stores, shopping, all kinds of hotel things are not, these are monstrous spaces. So the real challenge that will keep reoccurring as we go through this was how do you accommodate such huge spaces? So that's what that's there for, and we can go to the next. So this will bring back heartburn for some people, but this is what we looked at one time, and this really shows a response to the province's program or the Trade Center's program for those kinds of square footages to fit on that site. One approach would be to do what this is doing, and that is, let's see, yeah, so Market, Grafton, Argyle. So you enter at half story on Argyle and go down a half story, and that's the ballroom area, or up half story and out again. So all the pre-function would get light, and after that, there that is, and under that would be the exhibition. So that was one approach to handling it. But when we did that, we're testing it. This is a legitimate way to do it, another legitimate way to do it, and I think the way most people are going to want to do it, and I actually preferred, and that is moving the ballroom. We can go to the next one here. Moving the ballroom above grade, so that's, this now would be the back of house, ballroom, front of house, Argyle Street here, and the exhibition below, well, half below, like a half a story down. So the exhibition is actually visible from Argyle. So you walk in, down half floor, and that's the exhibition area. So these are two things we're looking at, and I'm sure, by the time we get through this, we'll be looking at all kinds of other things. But these are two options, but always got to remember, how do you handle such huge spaces? So here's two ways to do it. So we can go on to another one. So that's, I thought it was a basket, but it's a building. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about scale. Because of the ballroom and the exhibition space, the issue of scale is going to be big for us. So I thought, okay, people say scale, what do you mean by scale? And so that's what I mean by scale. How could you say it any better? I mean, without the trees, you would think it's a basket, but I think the trees are telling us, well, that's a building. So there's these cues that throw your senses off to what scale really is. And I got a few more horrible examples here. So there's another juxtaposition of two scales, not happily working together. And I think there's so these are crazy things, but they really exist. But I'm just kind of bringing up the subject of scale. So someday when we're talking about scale, we say, oh yeah, that. So that's what that's about. Another kind of funny thing that's happening there, and we can just keep on going. This is a convention center, I think, in Buffalo. So another problem with scale. I mean, the convention center we're talking about is that kind of size. So I mean, but do you need to do that? So that's what that's there for. Is basically to say, if you're not careful, you end up with these kinds of monsters. And we're aware of it. It's all a scale kind of problem. And that's what we need to address. So lots of discussion that will happen, I'm sure, is going to be about scale. So where are we now? And this is another, what is this, Scotia Square? Just another, I mean, this has been there forever. They're trying to reduce the scale now by putting in some windows. And I think they really work, they really help. It's way better than it was 20 years ago. But it's there you go, so scale. And this is a spot I reserved for when we finally resolve the problem, because these guys here are probably no more than 2 inches tall, right? But it's all a matter of scale. So we'll put the solution in there in 3 or 4 months. So now I just want to talk about sidewalks for a second. Sidewalks are really like the living room of a city. And the better the sidewalk, the better the city, and the reverse is true. If you've got horrible sidewalks, you probably have a horrible city. So I think it's 3 to 4 minutes? Okay. So just move on. There's another happy sidewalk, and you keep going. And so now this is Halifax. I mean, there was no effort here to accommodate people. The thing is, building owners have a responsibility to make their tenants happy and do what they need to make the tenants come and stay and have a smile on their face, but they equally have a responsibility to the city to do the same thing. What does the city, what does the public want? It hasn't been done here, but they spent a lot, because if you go back, you see all the money they spent on the polished granite. If you took that money, you could have done a much better job on that sidewalk. And so we're on the next one. This is Grafton Street. It's another kind of unhappy sidewalk. If you don't think about it, that's what you get. Now, here's someone who thought about it, but in the wrong way, I think. I've never seen anyone use it. It looks like this welcoming portico. Well, it doesn't actually look welcoming, but that was the intention, but it doesn't work. And you can't do it by, let's do it all in glass and the problem is over. Here's one in glass, and it's still the same kind of problem. It doesn't say, why don't you slow down? So here are the kind of things that can happen if you think through it. And I think they're the kind of things that we need to think about with Nova Centre. I mean, all around it. How the building meets the sidewalk, I think, is really important. So we can just keep on going there, Tim. And so, so you go. So Halifax does know how to do this. I mean, this is one of the great sidewalks. I mean, it's fantastic. So if we're not careful, and if we don't do it right, we'll not only kill that half the sidewalk, but likely this also. So we have a responsibility to actually build on that, and that's what I hope we can do, and we will do. This is on Grafton Street. I was just walking around one day. I mean, this is great little things. So public art, I think, another thing, we have public spaces should be placed also to get some public art happening. It says to people that you care about the place, you have some value for art, and I mean, it's a chance to celebrate those things. And where do you do? Do you hide it in the museum? Put it out in the street, put it on the sidewalk. That's what that's there for. Another one, it's the same kind of thing. I think that invigorates the sidewalk and invigorates the area and makes people feel good. So we can move to the next one. Back to that one. I like this one. This is a sidewalk art. This is chalk work, but I mean, it's pretty neat. So why not encourage that kind of thing? All these things help to make it a kind of a living room experience and a social experience. So we can go on to, and this is, I just threw this in to say one way to look at these things is the building and the sidewalk are kind of in partnership, and they really depend on each other to succeed. So lots of transparency, lots of accessibility, and so you can keep on moving. I'm skipping a lot of things. So the word iconic keeps coming up. So I thought, okay, iconic. So Halifax. What's iconic? I mean, the Parliament buildings are iconic. The seats of government are iconic. Special places of worship. Courthouses. So I mean, this is an iconic thing. And then the next slide would be, but you don't have to be big to be iconic. I think this derives its iconicism from its shape, but mostly its history. And so it's iconic because what it means to the city, where it came from, who put it there. So that's a kind of an iconic thing. And a parking garage can be iconic. This is in Miami Beach. And I think it's great. I mean, so this is someone who said, okay, we need a parking garage. Let's build a parking garage, but let's celebrate it. Let's make it more than a parking garage. Let's have fun with it. I'm sure it costs more than an ordinary parking garage, but I think it's a good attitude about parking garages. Here's a real iconic building. This is I think it's Disney Performance Center in Los Angeles. We don't have that kind of budget, but I threw it in there because I think you don't have to think in square boxes, and so that's there. And so he liked it so much he did it again. This is in Bilbao, Spain, is a Guggenheim. Again, iconic. And I've read about this. I mean, what that did for the city. The city was like on its knees. They built this, and it's alive. I mean, they put in new railway tracks just to get people in to visit this place. So buildings can have a real impact. I really like this building. This is the Ottawa Convention Center. Just finished. It's about a comparable size to what we're building in terms of its square footage, in terms of the programming, the kinds of things it can do. So that's I put that there. Just okay, we can go on. So now and we're done in about a minute. So the way I want to finish is I was walking down the street one day in Paris, and it's just this old neighborhood, I don't know, 5, 6-story buildings, all of them, 1700s, 1800s maybe. And then I walked around the corner, I saw this, I was shocked. I was, whoa, what's going on? And I thought, well, who let them do that? I mean, how do you, and especially when you come from Halifax, right? So what I liked about this is it's fun, it's got color in it. And so then I thought about Halifax. How do buildings look in the rain? And the palette we have here is brick and sandstone, and when it rains, it really looks a lot sadder than it really is. So that's why I threw some of this stuff in here. The convention center should move away from brick and sandstone. That said something about the 1800s, 1900s. This is 2012. We don't need any more brick and sandstone as far as I'm concerned. I think we should be, really contemporary, express ourselves as, from here forward, and not be so silly to try to, Anyway, so I'm throwing these colors in because I think part of the palette for this project probably should be color on a building. So, I mean, if you walked through sandstone and brick and then turned the corner and tripped over that, you'd probably put a smile on your face. I mean, there's a book called The Architecture of Happiness, and that's part of it. So, and this is just to say, don't think of facades of buildings as flat things. They don't need to be flat things. So there it is. I threw all those last things in just to say, look, open up, and here's part of a palette. And thank you. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.